Hello, I'm Professor Gerding, and this is Fun at One, the show where I use my psychology office hours as an excuse to play games with my psychology students in hopes that they'll interrupt me playing the game with you all with their comments, questions, concerns about what's going on in class. That's right, I want you to use my office hours the way they're supposed to be used. I'm here to help you, tutor you, guide you through test 3, etc. But we're live on Facebook, Twitch, and on YouTube currently right now so that we can help you perhaps through test 3, as this is now the summer semester. And today on Fun and One, we're playing the Innsmouth Case, Part 3. Part 3 and the last day of the Innsmouth Case. In case you haven't watched the last 2 days, here's your quick recap of this textbook choose your own adventure game. That's right, we're basically playing a choose your own adventure game where we are a private detective. We are hired by an attractive woman by the name of Delilah. She wanted us to go to the small town, coastal town of Innsmouth to find her missing daughter, Tabitha. Us being a cheapskate, we decided together that we would hitchhike to Innsmouth. On our way there, we met some interesting characters, but eventually landed there and had a choice of where to go. Did we go to the city center? Did we go to the hotel? Did we go to the harbor? We decided to go to the harbor, and while we were at the harbor, we had options, and we decided to go to the church, discovering that this church of this small coastal town of Innsmouth was the Church of Dagon. That's right, the people there worshipped Dagon. But they wouldn't really let us in because we weren't a recognized citizen and churchgoer. So we didn't really go far with the church. So instead, we decided to go to the spooky lighthouse. While we were in the lighthouse, we saw that there was a sign that said, "Forbidden," basically. This is abandoned, turn back. Don't go in here. We, of course, ignored that because realistically, we were experiencing a lot of boredom. The story was really slow and we were just begging for something to happen. So at that point, we were making decisions to shake things up a little bit. So we climbed to the top of this lighthouse tower. We found books there. The books were of very interesting types. There's a lot of informational, educational books, but also books on the occult. So very cosmic horror-esque. And when we finally got to the top of the lighthouse, we found there was no place for a bulb anywhere where there should have been one. In fact, this lighthouse wasn't a lighthouse at all. It was some sort of shrine. And there we saw this shrine altar with a small cube at the top. So what we did is we decided to touch this small little cube. And what happened is this cube melded into us and we kind of blacked out. And when we awoke, we were surrounded by these cones of flesh creatures with tubules coming from their face, tentacles with claws at the end of them that made a clicking noise. This is my attempt at a clicking noise. It worked better in practice. But also grotesque looking faces. And we decided we were going to fight these creatures. But when we went to put up our fisticuffs, we realized, we were one of those creatures. And soon we could understand their language. They were talking to us. It was the stuff of nightmares. And that's where we pick up where we left off in the story. So let's join back here in the book. And what you see above there, that's what we look like. And that's also what we're talking to here. So, what's going to happen? By the way, we all decided as a group we didn't like the music. The music was too repetitive for the game. In fact, the music's on right now. I'm going to turn it up so you can hear it better. Pretty eerie stuff. This one not as offensive as the other music. So what we're going to do is we're going to mute that music and we're going to turn on some other music that I found. Oh, maybe not. I accidentally lost it. I'm going to bring it back here. I went onto YouTube and I just looked up spooky music and decided we would play that instead of the usual game music because it seemed pretty repetitive there. Let's see how this music sounds. All right, yeah, this is better. There we go. Okay, so let's get back to it. So we're talking to these creatures, and they ask, what would you like to know? So our options are, who are you? Where am I? What has happened to my body? Mention our vegan diet. Or do we just ignore questions? We're going to first ask what happened to my body. By the way, no matter what happens in the adventure today, this is our last day. We're not going to go the entire weekend because this game is going to end. I want to keep it nice and tight. We did 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We didn't have fun at one on Monday because of the holiday. So we're just going to go ahead and make this the last day so we can all enjoy our weekend. Speaking of which, there is no fun at one next week. I'm going to be in Florida on vacation. But here we go. What has happened to my body? The translator transforms your thoughts into clicking sounds. You can only hope that the pressing nature of your question has not been lost in translation. Yes, that's the unpleasant part of the lecture. Oh, I'm sorry, this is the creature talking. Yes, that is the unpleasant part of the lecture. You touched one of our carefully placed transmitters, so your mind was switched with one of our agents. Carefully placed transmitter? You mean the cube? The cube at the top of the abandoned and locked lighthouse in the forgotten backwoods village in the middle of nowhere? I guess the transmitter is placed in a way that ensures that it is only found by people who are not easily missed. While you are here, our agent is gathering vital information about your society and environment using your body. You are to remain here in this body and must wait until he has completed his mission. Then we will erase your memory so you won't take any of our superior knowledge with you and send you back. And how long does that normally take? The creature answers sheepishly. Oh, you'll know, 3 to 10 years, max. This information hits you like a kick in the stomach, which in this body seems to be at the bottom of the fleshy cone. It's a very unusual feeling. 3 to 10 years? You mean Earth years? What am I supposed to do in the meantime? Well, we've got a lot of things to read around here. Also, we'd like you to write down your life story for us. Not a biography for the great library, but reserved for all eternity. A bit of immortality most beings in this galaxy dare not even hope for. Oh dear. Do we ask another question? Do we say, but I'm on a mission? Or do we ask about time travel? Well, no one has joined us yet live. I don't see anyone in the chat on Facebook, nor on YouTube, nor on Twitch. So I'm still on my own here to answer these questions. Oh dear. Do we ask another question? But I'm on a mission, time travel? Let's ask about time travel. I've traveled through time? Now it's the creature's turn to roll its eyes. Ugh. To make this brief, yes, you did. Yes, like on TV, just completely different. No, we don't keep a record of lottery numbers. No, we have no interest in killing fascists while they're still children. No, we cannot start any paradoxes. The universe is predetermined and free will. It's an illusion. This is pretty interesting. This is the best of the 3 days so far, because this is saturated. This is full of story. I can taste it. Yes, that can be a bit depressing at times, but also very liberating if you think about it for a moment. Yes, we also know how about Back to the Future. Any other questions? Yeah, if I can time travel, why do I have to wait here for years for my body to be released? Would it not be possible to send me back to the point in time where your colleague leaves my body at this very moment? The creature nods slowly. Yes, you'd think, wouldn't you? No further explanation seems to be forthcoming. So let's ask another question. Let's ask, who are you? The creature straightens up. We! The translation in your head begins with the air of gravitas. The great race of Yith. We are the wisest species in all of creation. Countless eons ago, but also in the distant future, we made it our mission to gather all the knowledge of the universe. We have sent our agents through space and time to observe and study. When we learned of our own demise in this way, we transplanted our spirits en masse into this form that you now see before you. Your new friend seems to want to do a playful pirouette to show off his body, but since he is resting on a slimy snail's foot, the process takes a good 2 minutes. Snazzy, is it not? So functional, so sturdy. His scissors rub against each other, which your device translates as a bashful coughing. Anyway, to answer your question more directly, I'm Morton. My colleagues and I are archivists in the Great Library of Pacataris, Department of Human Studies, Western Hemisphere Subdivision, Pre-Nuclear America Working Group, or as we call ourselves, the Tough Amoebicides. As if they've rehearsed this before, the other Yith in the room begin to shout, Tough Amoebicides. Casey joins us. Hey, Casey, I'm so glad you're here. Casey asks, what's happening right now? Just got here. We're just talking to the creature. We found out that they soul swapped us. So one of these alien creatures now inhabit our human body, Casey, and they're walking around observing things on planet Earth. So they're on a mission of recon for these alien creatures. In the meantime, we're stuck in the agent's body. We asked how long it will take for the agent to finish using her body so we can soul swap back. And they said between 3 to 10 years is I think what they said. All right. So we're continuing the conversation. Great. They're nerds. Let's ask pre-nuclear America. What do you mean by pre-nuclear? We've had nuclear power stations for a while now. Martin makes a dismissive gesture with his hand, claw. Oh, don't worry about it. All right, so apparently it's suggesting that eventually there's going to be a nuclear holocaust and everything's going to go to apocalypse. So let's ask where I am. The creature is thinking, you are in Australia. Huh? You always imagine Australia differently. The important question is when you are. The clicks of one of the beings from further back in the room. The creature close to you abruptly turns its long neck towards the heckler. Damn it, Frank! That's my favorite part of the newcomer lecture. Don't spoil it for me. Although you do not have much control of your new body, you can apparently roll your eyes. Okay, when am I? We ask. But the creature in front of you seems to be in a huff. Man, it's no fun now. You are on Pangea in the Permian period in the late Paleozoic era, where in the distant future Australia will one day arise. About 250 million years before we picked you up. Okay. Let's mention our vegan diet. I'm hungry. I only eat vegetarian food. Do you have good vegetarian snacks? The creature nods confusedly. Strange question, but yes. It's very important that the food is completely plant-based. You have to understand. Oh, don't worry. We're all vegetarians. There are no other food options. Our species has evolved to the point where we have been feeding ourselves for ages without harming other intelligent life. Somehow this answer doesn't make you as happy as it should. There's no sense of that usual feeling of moral superiority that settles in when you talk about your eating habits. Feel a little down. The Yith clacks insecurely with its scissors. So, should I get you something to eat? Ah, never mind, you say glumly. I'm not that hungry after all. So what would you like to know? Well, we have no other questions at this stage. The creature seems to be baffled by this. Really? None? Nope. Well, okay, in that case, we'll set you up for training so you can get to know your new body a bit better. Once you've made some progress, we'll teach you to write in Yith, and then you can start with writing down your life story. Frank can give me a hand here. Oh, Frank, can you give me a hand here? Frink arrives with a machine that looks like a mix between a forklift truck and a spatula. He carefully scrapes your currently still useless snail body off the floor and transports you out of the room. First, you learn to control your new body. The trumpet-like extensions, which simultaneously serve as a breathing organ, mouth, and waste outlet, prove to be the biggest challenge. You can only eat if your whole body is working on the task. You almost suffocated several times while eating. You sincerely hope that the agent using your human body is doing a better job than you're doing controlling this body. Then you start to learn the curved script of the Yith. In fact, everything in the culture of the Yith is curved, smooth, or circular. They have an extreme aversion to right angles. When you ask Frink about it, he replies something about the dogs of Tindalo, who live in the corners of time and hunt down travelers. Fair enough, so you start to settle in. All in all, Yiths prove to be quite boring people once you actually get to know them. Their bodies do not allow for much mobility. They have no sense for fiction, and they reproduce via spores. It's a very impersonal process which ensures that sex and love and all the drama associated with them are completely unknown to their society. Since you're living in a host body, you're not allowed to take drugs or participate in any exciting or dangerous activities that may harm your current body. The vegetarian food of the Yith is either very bland or their taste buds are not very developed. Perhaps it's by design, since this species takes in and excretes food through a single organ. You would kill for a bag of potato chips. Then comes the point where you're asked to write down your autobiography. Hey, Darnell! Good to see you here. You write a truthful account of your life, or a mix between spy stories and adventure novels with a sprinkle of karate. All right, option one, we can be honest and write a truthful account of our biography for these creatures, or we can lie to these creatures and write a crazy autobiography, which is a mix between spy stories and adventure novels with a sprinkle of karate. What do you think? I mean, we were kind of captured against our will. We're now in this horrible body for years and years, and it sounds like a lot of time has already passed. Now we're living in this basically barren land of Pangea in Australia. Whew! So what do you think? Do we give them what they want? A truthful biography, or do we exaggerate? Casey says be truthful. Polly asks, is this the end from yesterday? Polly, we're picking up right where we left off. We are now in the body of one of those alien creatures, and we are now waiting for the alien that is now controlling our body to finish our body so we can swap bodies back. Although they tell us they're going to erase our memory. Casey says, let's be truthful. All right. Your story. This creepy yet fascinating race of aliens wants to hear your story. That anybody wants to hear your story, you'll never get a chance like this again. So you start writing. You write about your average childhood, boring jobs, friendships, romances, the little triumphs, and also, of course, the defeats that nonetheless always motivated you to go on. That was the easy part. The trumpet-like arm with which you hold the alien writing device stills. Your autobiography has almost reached the present moment. The reason for your presence in the realm of the Yith. The incredibly stupid decision to turn a life as a private investigator caused by boredom and the consumption of too many Hollywood movies. If only you hadn't given up your old job. You were magnificent as a professional clown, a graphic designer, or a civil servant. Which of these was our previous job? We're writing our own past here. Were we a great professional clown? Option 1. Option 2, a great graphic designer. Or option 3, a civil servant. If I don't hear an answer from anybody, I'm going to default to civil servant. Because that seems like it actually logically goes into private investigation. Maybe as a civil servant, maybe you're a social worker, something like that. Maybe you heard too many bad stories, so you decided to do something about it by becoming a private investigator. Casey says 2, graphic designer it is. Staring at a monitor in the dark all day long while your spine turns to mush and your right hand develops carpal tunnel syndrome? A delight. Why did you quit your job again? Oh, right, because of the clients. Sorry, Polly. Casey beat you with her decision for option 2, graphic designer. Putting all of your experiences and feelings into words proves to be a good form of therapy. You can't wait to turn your life around. If only you weren't stuck in this lump of alien meat. After a few dull months, it's finally time for a party. In a large hall, one of the archivists gives an extremely long and boring lecture on the importance of rapeseed oil in various human and post-human civilizations. All of the Yith gather around small bar tables in the area and listen intently as they sip on nourishing slime, which is slightly sweeter than usual. Afterwards, there's a competition in solving quantum equations. The different working groups, complete with nerdy and terrible boring team names, compete against each other. The archivists of your working group, the tough amoebocytes, are kicked out early on by the Atlantic prehumanities, and the persistent plethamoliths to lukewarm applause. It is practically an orgiastic celebration by Yith standards, this evening of trivia night that we're all having. For you, the most important part of the evening is the first contact with other guests of the Yith. Other beings pushed out of their bodies by agents of the library and hurled through time, stand around in their guest bodies and talk to each other quietly. Fortunately, they have small name tags on which you can see not only their name and working group, but also their species of origins. With you at the table are 2 creatures who identified as Gregor, post-Mohammedan Eurasia, Homo sapiens, and Zekel, daughter of Klexka, second Amazon desert epoch, Megaprolaplantia technologicus. You have the urgent need to talk to someone to avoid dying of brain hemorrhaging due to boredom. Who do we talk to, Gregor or Zekel? Let's talk to Gregor, since Gregor's human. Another human being! The first contact in months you've had with another person. You turn to Gregor. Hi. It's nice to meet a fellow human being. Where exactly are you from? Gregor's Yith head flops towards you. He seems to have been lost in thought, but you have the feeling that he is happy to have an opportunity to talk. Is this true? Another human being? I'm so happy to finally been able to talk to a comrade. My name is Gregor Ishketanov. I'm from Kiev. Gregor's head flops about rhythmically. And where are you from? Gregor's upper tentacle briefly twitches. Only a few seconds later do you realize that it was probably an attempt at a tired smile, performed by a person in a body that meets exactly 0 of the anatomical requirements to exhibit a smile. Last thing I remember is celebrating Labor Day with my friends. That was in 1980. I was promised that in 6 years at the very latest I would be allowed to go on with my life. And I will! Chernobyl! Here I come! Luckily, you're currently in a robust Yith body because your human face would be chalk white right now. You warn Gregor of Chernobyl. I'd stay away from Chernobyl, mate. You warn him with slow clacking of your scissors. What? But why? He clacks back. At least now you have his full attention. Well, Chernobyl, you continue. Everyone knows about Chernobyl in my time. Gregor's eyes widen. Yes? Why is that? Well, it's because of the reactor incident. There was this awful reactor incident, and damn it, if you only paid a bit more attention to things while you're still human. You desperately try to combine the tidbits of knowledge you have into a plausible story. Hundreds of acres of land were contaminated, maybe even more. Nuclear meltdown, it was all a mess. Gregor does not seem convinced. It all sounds to me like you know very little about Mother Russia, my friend. His scissors snap back and forth 3 times. They have a strange sense of humor in the capitalist states. It's just funny that I chose a Russian accent for the Yith, and then of course, the one human Yith we talk to happens to be Russian, so now it's whatever. That was just coincidence. Sorry, everybody. Your honorable intention to warn Gregor of his potentially painful death is beginning to waver. This guy is slowly but surely getting on your nerves. What's more, he will have forgotten everything he learned here in this time with the Yith as they erase your memory once you leave. So you've got to let him live his life. Gregor's head flops about rhythmically. Let's just say, I love vodka. I love vodka! You clack your scissors perhaps a little too enthusiastically. Gregor's head tentacles twitch slightly. The universal interplanetary sign for who doesn't. Alright, we say, comrade, last option. Tell me, Gregor, what country are you from? Gregor appears to be standing up a little bit taller. From the greatest country in the world. Of course, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. The USSR. Only now does he seem to be reading your own name tag. Oh, an American. Tell me, in your time, are you the workers of your country finally free? Have the capitalist devil surrendered to communism? He's awaiting your answer. Do we say, yes, you've shown us what's what? Or do we say, I wouldn't quite put it like this? Well, I'll make an executive decision just to move this conversation along so something happens. We'll lie, just for fun, and say, yeah, USSR, Russia showed us what's what. Yeah, you've shown us what's what. You agree with him without getting any more concrete. Ha, I knew it! Gregor cheers and his tentacles flutter about jubilantly. The childlike joy of this communist about the dominance of his country warms your no longer existent heart. Gregor's head flops about rhythmically, and we leave this party, having wasted our time talking to Gregor. So this is how you pass your time. Despite your initial bumps, you end up getting more closely acquainted with Gregor and Zickelzel. You shared fate is what ties you together. Over the coming months and years, you end up becoming friends and sharing common interests. You spend most of your time studying human history or trying to produce nicotine replacement. Let's do the comic route and try to produce nicotine replacement. After you've come to terms with the fact that a millennial-old race of researchers has stolen your body and planted your consciousness in an alien body, you have only one goal. You need a goddamn cigarette! Fortunately, all the knowledge of humanity is at your fingertips, and so you waste no time in recreating the deadly nicotine rolls that you love so much. The nicotine itself turns out to be the biggest challenge, but fortunately, the biochemists of the Yith have no objections when you turn up at their labs one day. With a single-minded focus and ambition, you experience with plant samples, bacteria, and carnivorous viruses to create the drug you crave so much. The enterprise gains momentum when Gregor finds out about your project and insists on supporting you. After countless plant samples collected from now perished planets have been destroyed in your experiments, you finally manage to produce a synthetic nicotine-like substance, which you roll up into a bit of ancient parchment. It's only then you realize that a Yith without a mouth or a lung system is incapable of consuming a cigarette. Dang it. Finally, the day has come. You're being led in the transport room. It's the same room you arrived in so many years ago. When the process starts, you overhear two of the librarians talking. Have you erased the participant's memory, right? You erased the memory? I thought you were doing that. Oh, shit. And you're gone. Looks like they forgot to erase our memory. So we have full memory of the years of being a Yith. You wake up as if you've woken up many times before after drunken nights out in some dive bar, after awful parties at which you drank yourself into a stupor. But it's different this time. The flickering before your eyes ceases. The agony and disorientation give way to a sense of clarity that you have rarely felt. Your normally slightly hazy thoughts are clear. Not a shallow pond, but a crystal clear lake. Your memory is filled with knowledge from the intensive studies you have undertaken in the great library. So much knowledge. Your gaze wanders through the room in which you find yourself. The room sits there calmly between these four well-known walls. You're at home, on your sofa. Well, technically, it's not your sofa. It's a completely new one with the bugs and rats that had moved into a nest in the bottom. Everything is unnaturally clean, and the sofa does not seem to be the only piece of furniture that has been replaced. Later, you'll find out that the Yith, who swapped places with you, has not only used his 6 years, 6 years, for a highly efficient studies, but he also applied for position at the largest historical museum in Boston. Successfully, of course, because Yith do not do things by halves. Your eyes light up as you read the number on your last paycheck. You hold up the paper so close to your face that your nose brushes the paper. twice a year, twice as often as normally you would, your possessed body has contacted your family, giving what appear to be completely neutral, boring, and meaningless confirmations that you are fine. There are postcards from your relatives sending greetings from their holidays. Postcards which say that they are proud of you, proud that you've managed to turn your life around. That's certainly one way of putting it. The Yith has eaten well, fresh fruit, the prescribed daily minimum of vitamins, proteins, and fibers to make his studies as efficient as possible. The Yith are also exercised. In the bedroom, you look at your body in the mirror. You take off one layer of clothing after another. 6 years have gone by. Intrigued, you look at your face in the mirror. A few more wrinkles for sure, yeah. Yet you feel that your life is only just now beginning. And it's loading. Yith, we can! We got an achievement. You spent 6 years of your life among the Yith as if you had anything else going on. And that was the ending we received. So we never found the girl, Tabitha. We never solved the case. No, instead, we just transported ourselves to an alien world where we spent 6 years trying to come up with a cigarette substitute. But after 6 years, we were transported back into our human body. Whew! What you think of the story? Thumbs up? Thumbs down? Good stuff? Bad stuff? Let me know. I mean, we could go on with this and go back to a different chapter, but it only allows us to go to two of the different chapters, the park and ride or the harbor. So we could try different choices, maybe whatever we were to go back. But I think we'll end it here. And if you really like the game, then you can get it yourself and choose a different ending than we did. We had a pretty unsatisfying ending, in my opinion. It finally got interesting once we got transported to an alien land, but the game seemed to never really have focus. The game was so about the moment-to-moment details of transporting. And so I'm going to just pontificate a little bit about my own opinion. Polly says weird ending. I agree. Weird ending indeed. Indeed. So I'm a big fan of role-playing games. Role-playing games are much more interactive versions of choose your own adventure games because they're very open-ended. It's not like here's 3 choices. Although some game masters with Dungeons and Dragons and whatnot may try to railroad you into one option or not. But a good role-playing game, it's basically communal storytelling, and the players are the ones telling the story. But here's the point. A good game master, in my strong opinion, thoroughly continues a strong narrative. There's always a purpose in mind. And more importantly, you shouldn't get caught up in the mundane details too much of what equipment do you have in your backpack. Every step of a journey has a story to it. No, you want to just go with wider brushstrokes. For instance, if the mission is going from one place to find a missing person in another city, you can have some encounters on the way to the city, but for the most part, the players, the audience, they're going to have fun trying to get to the main goal. If the main goal was to rescue Tabitha, there should have been focus around Tabitha the entire time, not so much on the relationships of the people we garner while we're hitchhiking there, not so much on what's going on in the lighthouse. Instead, it should just be, where's Tabitha? Where's Tabitha? What do you know about Tabitha? Where is she? Where is she? That's my opinion. So I agree with what Casey says. Same. The game lost focus. Yeah, the game didn't have very strong focus. I think this would be a great game if I had absolutely nothing better to do, if I didn't have a book to read. As far as Choose Your Own Adventure goes, it wasn't that hilarious. There were some clever things here with making the Yith kind of comedic, but at the same time, meh. I think of all like the amazing things you could have done, and I don't think it was funny enough for it to be a hardcore comedy, and it wasn't cosmic horror enough in order for it to be scary. My opinion is it loses focus between the two. Either dive in and be hardcore comedy, or dive in and be hardcore cosmic horror. or I guess at the very least, do them both better. I don't know. Sorry, I'm really slamming this game. Hopefully I didn't waste the last 3 days. But hey, I won't be here next week. I'm going to Florida. What are you doing next week? Let me know, because I'm interested. I'll still be available for students via email, and I can even do Zoom meetings if necessary. But I'm going to be in Florida away from my computer where I won't have this whole video game setup, green screen behind me, etc. My lighting's not great today in the green screen because you can see the little barrier right here. Like, watch my finger. It's about to... Ah! But anyway, we'll be off next week. So let me know what you want in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, I'll be back on the Tuesday after this Tuesday. They call that the Ox Tuesday. Not this coming Tuesday, but the Tuesday following, which is Oxed Tuesday. Let me know. All right. Hey, I appreciate everybody. You're amazing. Hopefully you enjoyed the music better this time because we didn't have the game music. Instead, we just did the creepy music. It's very background atmospheric. But anyway, I hope you have an amazing weekend. Love you all. Be happy. Be healthy. See you next time at 1 o'clock on Tuesday. Bye, everybody. Oh, you know what? I came from down. I should leave down. Woo!